Listen, I'm going to tell you something about women and cheating that will completely change how you see relationships forever. And before you get defensive, before you start thinking, not my woman, not my marriage, just hear me out, because what I'm about to reveal happens in the minds of even the most loyal, most loving, most devoted women you know. There's a mechanism in the female brain, a chemical process that gets triggered under certain conditions, and once you understand this mechanism, you'll see the signs everywhere, in every relationship around you, maybe even in your own, and you'll finally understand why that perfect couple you knew suddenly exploded, why that devoted mother of 3 ran off with someone from her gym, why women who seem to have everything still destroy it all for something that makes no logical sense. You know what nobody talks about when they discuss relationships? The fact that the beginning of every relationship is essentially a drug high. I mean literally, biochemically, your brain on cocaine and heroin simultaneously, flooding you with dopamine, serotonin, oxytocin, creating this cocktail that makes everything seem perfect, makes every touch electric, every conversation fascinating, every moment together worth recording in your memory forever. Those first months, maybe the first year or 2 if you're lucky, you're not actually in love with a person. You're high on chemicals your own brain is producing, and she is too. That is the dirty secret nobody wants to admit because it sounds unromantic, but it's biological fact. I've watched this pattern play out so many times it's become predictable, like watching the same movie over and over. The couple meets, there's this explosion of passion. Every date is an adventure. Every text message causes butterflies. Every physical encounter feels like the first time. She tells her friends he's different. He's special. He's not like other guys. He feels like he's won the lottery, like he's finally found the one. They post pictures on social media of their perfect moments, the surprise weekend trips, the thoughtful gifts, the romantic dinners, the way they look at each other like nobody else exists in the world. But here's what's actually happening in her brain during this phase that nobody explains. Every new experience with you is triggering dopamine release, the same chemical that gets released when people do drugs, win money, achieve goals. You take her somewhere new, dopamine. You surprise her with flowers, dopamine. You have amazing sex, massive dopamine. Her brain is literally addicted to you, but not to you, to the chemicals you're helping her brain produce. And like any addiction, it requires more and more stimulation to get the same high. I remember talking to this woman, let's call her Anna, successful professional, married 15 years, 3 kids, beautiful house, husband who adores her. She came to me confused, terrified actually, because she couldn't understand what was happening in her head. She says, I love my husband, I really do, but when this new guy started at my company, something woke up in me that I thought was dead. When he looks at me, when he laughs at my jokes, when he accidentally touches my hand passing documents, I feel like I'm 18 again. I haven't done anything, but I think about him constantly. What's wrong with me? What's wrong with her? Nothing. Her brain is doing exactly what it's designed to do, seeking novelty, seeking stimulation, seeking those chemicals that made her feel alive during the early days of her marriage. The new guy isn't special, he's just new. His attention isn't better than her husband's attention. It's just unfamiliar enough to trigger the old pathways that have gone dormant from routine. And this is where women's minds start playing tricks on them, creating justifications for feelings they don't understand. She starts noticing everything wrong with her husband. He's gained weight, he's always tired, he doesn't look at her the way he used to, he's more interested in sports than in her. These aren't new behaviours, she just never noticed them when her brain was flooded with bonding chemicals. Now that the chemicals have dried up, all she can see are the flaws. Meanwhile, the new source of attention, whether it's a co-worker, someone from the gym, an old friend who resurfaces on Facebook, this person seems perfect because her brain is only associating them with dopamine release. He makes her laugh. Dopamine. He compliments her new haircut. Dopamine. He remembers something she said weeks ago. Massive dopamine hit because her husband doesn't even remember what she said this morning. Time and again, I see women in this phase start rewriting the history of their relationship. Maybe I never really loved him. We got married too young. I think I settled. We're more like roommates than lovers. These aren't insights. They're rationalizations her brain is creating to justify the pull toward novelty. The same brain that once convinced her that her husband was her soulmate is now convincing her that he never was. But here's what's really happening in stages, and every woman who's ever cheated has gone through these exact stages whether she knows it or not. First comes what I call the glance phase. She notices someone attractive, maybe at work, maybe at the coffee shop, maybe at her kid's school. It's innocent, just noticing, the way you notice a nice car or a beautiful sunset. But that glance triggers a tiny hit of dopamine, so small she doesn't even register it consciously. You see, yes, this is where the trouble starts, because after 6 months, a year, 2 years, the same experiences don't produce the same chemical response. That weekend trip you used to take, first time was magical, second time was wonderful, third time was nice, fourth time it's routine. The flowers that used to make her cry with joy now get a "thanks, honey" while she's looking at her phone. The sex that used to be mind-blowing becomes mechanical, scheduled, something to check off the list between putting the kids to bed and watching Netflix. This isn't because she's a bad person or because she doesn't love you anymore. It's because her brain has developed tolerance, exactly like a drug addict develops tolerance. What used to flood her with feel-good chemicals now barely produces a trickle. And here's where it gets dangerous. Her brain doesn't just accept this new normal, it starts looking for new sources of stimulation, scanning the environment for anything that might produce that hit of dopamine she's craving, without even consciously knowing she's craving it. Then comes the attention phase. She realizes this person has noticed her too. Maybe he smiles at her, maybe he goes out of his way to talk to her, maybe he likes her photos on social media. This attention, especially if it's been years since someone new showed interest, floods her with chemicals she hasn't felt in years. Suddenly she's checking the mirror more before leaving the house, putting on lipstick to go to the grocery store just in case she runs into him, finding excuses to be where he might be. The subtle flirtation phase comes next, and this is where most women tell themselves they're still innocent, they're not doing anything wrong. It's just friendly conversation, just innocent joking around, just two adults enjoying each other's company. But every interaction is building chemical dependency. Her brain is starting to associate this person with feeling good, feeling young, feeling desired. She starts looking forward to Monday mornings because she'll see him at work, starts feeling disappointed when he's not at the gym, starts checking her phone hoping for a message from him. Then obvious flirtation begins, but here's the trick. Women are masters at keeping this within socially acceptable boundaries so they can maintain plausible deniability. We're just friends. He's just being nice. I can't control if he has a crush on me. But she's sending signals too, touching his arm when she laughs, telling him about problems in her marriage, creating emotional intimacy that should be reserved for her husband. She's not technically cheating, but she's building the runway for it. I've observed this pattern countless times, and what's fascinating is how women rationalize each step. They're not consciously planning to cheat, they're just following feelings they don't understand, pulled by chemicals they don't know are controlling them. By the time physical infidelity happens, the emotional affair has been going on for months or even years, and in her mind, the physical act is just confirming what her emotions already decided. You want to know what's really sick about all this? Social media and modern communication have made this process 1,000 times more dangerous. It used to be that a woman might encounter maybe 1 or 2 potential sources of new attention in her daily life. Now, she's got hundreds of men in her phone who could provide that dopamine hit at any moment. An ex-boyfriend finds her on Facebook, a random guy slides into her Instagram DMs, a co-worker sends a flirty text, and suddenly, she's got multiple sources of the attention drug her brain is craving. Many people experience this but don't understand what's happening. That innocent catch-up message from an old flame triggers more excitement than anything their husband has done in years. Not because the ex is special, but because he represents novelty, possibility, the unknown, all things that trigger dopamine release. Her husband represents comfort, security, routine, all things that trigger oxytocin release. And here's the crucial point, oxytocin is the bonding chemical, the one that keeps families together, but it doesn't feel exciting, it feels calm, safe, maybe even boring. Women don't understand this chemical reality, so they interpret it as falling out of love. I love him, but I'm not in love with him, is literally just describing the transition from dopamine to oxytocin, from stimulation chemicals to bonding chemicals. But because nobody explains this, because romantic comedies and romance novels keep selling the lie that passion lasts forever, women think something is wrong with their relationship, when actually everything is progressing exactly as biology intended. It happens more often than people realize that a woman will destroy a perfectly good marriage, traumatize her children, blow up her entire life, for a feeling that will last maybe 6 months to a year with the new person before the same chemical transition happens again. Then she's sitting in her apartment, away from her kids half the time, realizing the new guy has all the same flaws as the old guy once the drugs wear off, wondering what the hell she was thinking. I knew this woman, let's call her Marina, who told me her story after her divorce. She said the affair felt like coming back to life after being dead for years. Every secret meeting was an adventure, every text was thrilling, every moment stolen from her regular life felt electric. She left her husband of 12 years, father of her 2 children, stable, good man for this feeling. 6 months later, she's living with the affair partner, and guess what? He leaves his dishes in the sink too. He also gets tired after work. He also stops noticing when she gets her hair done. Because the chemicals wore off and reality set in. But here's what really happens in a woman's mind during the cheating process that men completely miss. She's not just seeking sexual satisfaction, or even emotional connection. She's seeking to feel like a different version of herself. With her husband, she's a mother, a household manager, a responsibility bearer. With the new attention, she's mysterious, desired, unpredictable. She's not just cheating on her husband, she's cheating on her entire identity, trying to escape the life she built because that life doesn't provide the chemical high anymore. You see, yes, there are these women who become addicted to this cycle, what I call serial emotional cheaters. They're not necessarily having physical affairs, but they're constantly cultivating new sources of attention, maintaining multiple emotional connections, always having someone in the pipeline for when the current source stops providing enough stimulation. These women often don't even realize they're doing it. They think they're just being friendly, just being social, but watch their behavior. They light up when male attention arrives. They dress differently when they know they'll encounter it. They create opportunities for it to happen. I've seen it countless times where these women will have a roster of men orbiting them. The gym friend who's just a workout buddy, the work husband who's just a colleague, the ex who's just a friend now, the neighbour who just helps with household stuff sometimes. Each one provides a different type of attention, a different flavour of dopamine, and she manages them all like a portfolio manager balancing investments, never quite crossing the line, but always dancing on it. The really dangerous ones are the ones who've learned to weaponize this need for attention. They know exactly how to signal availability without being explicit, how to create plausible deniability, how to make men compete for their attention while maintaining complete innocence. I can't help it if men find me attractive. I'm just being friendly. You're being paranoid and controlling. These women will gaslight their partners while building emotional connections that are intimate enough to destroy marriages but subtle enough to deny. What men don't understand is that women often start the cheating process years before anything physical happens. It starts with disappointment, moves to resentment, progresses to emotional withdrawal, then emotional availability to others, then active seeking of attention, then reciprocating attention, then building connection, then justifying the connection, then physical expression of what's been building for months or years. By the time she actually cheats physically, in her mind the relationship has been over for a long time. But here's the biological reality that nobody wants to talk about. Only about 10% of people, men or women, successfully navigate the transition from dopamine-based attraction to oxytocin-based attachment without major crisis. The other 90% either cheat, divorce, or resign themselves to quiet desperation, staying together for the kids, or because starting over seems too hard, or because they don't believe anything better exists. Those 10% who make it, they're not special or more moral or more in love. They just understand, either intuitively or through education, that the feeling change is normal, expected, even healthy. They don't interpret the loss of butterflies as falling out of love. They don't seek to recreate the early intensity through affairs or drama. They accept that Tuesday night watching TV in sweatpants is what real love looks like, not Friday night desperate passion in a hotel room. I learned this myself the hard way, through my own relationship disasters and watching countless others. The women who cheat aren't usually bad people. They're not usually even unhappy with their partners in any logical way. They're just chimps with smartphones, following biological imperatives they don't understand, making life-destroying decisions based on chemical reactions they interpret as cosmic signs. You want to know how to tell if a woman is likely to cheat? Don't look at how she treats you when she's high on new relationship drugs. Look at how she treats other people when there's nothing in it for her. Does she sacrifice for her family? Does she show up for friends in crisis? Does she honour commitments when they become inconvenient? Or does she always have an excuse, always have a reason why her needs come first, always find a way to make herself the victim when she doesn't get what she wants? Time and again, it's clear that women who cheat have a pattern of prioritising their feelings over their commitments long before the cheating starts. They quit jobs when they get bored, they end friendships when they get complicated, they abandon projects when they stop being fun. They're constantly chasing the next high, the next excitement, the next thing that makes them feel special and alive. The affair is just another manifestation of this pattern. But here's what's really disturbing. Many women know this about themselves and do nothing to address it. They know they get bored easily. They know they crave attention. They know they're susceptible to flattery. But instead of building safeguards, they put themselves in situations where temptation is inevitable. They take the job with the attractive boss. They join the gym with the flirty trainer. They stay friends with the ex who still wants them. They go to the conference in Vegas alone and then act surprised when it just happened. It doesn't just happen. That is the biggest lie women tell themselves and everyone else about cheating. It happens through 1,000 small decisions, each one moving them closer to the edge, each one justified as harmless, until they're standing at the precipice acting like they don't know how they got there. One thing led to another. No, one decision led to another decision, led to another decision, led to a predictable outcome. The chemical reality is this. Every woman's brain will experience the decline of passion chemicals and the rise of attachment chemicals. Every woman will notice other men and feel attraction. Every woman will have moments where the grass looks greener elsewhere. The difference between women who cheat and women who don't isn't that faithful. Women don't experience these things. It's that they recognise them for what they are. Temporary chemical states that will pass if not fed. Women who don't cheat do something that seems almost superhuman in today's culture. They choose commitment over feeling. When they feel attracted to someone new, they don't nurture it with fantasy and interaction. When they feel bored with their partner, they don't interpret it as relationship death. When they crave excitement, they find it in ways that don't involve other men's attention. They understand that feelings are weather, constantly changing, and commitment is climate stable and enduring. I've watched women navigate this successfully, and it's not through willpower or moral superiority. It's through understanding. They understand that the coworker who makes them laugh isn't special. He's just new. They understand that the butterflies they feel aren't love, they're novelty. They understand that their husband's familiarity isn't boring. It's the foundation that allows them to have a stable life, raise children, build something lasting. But most women don't have this understanding because our culture actively works against it. Every movie shows passionate love lasting forever. Every social media post shows other couples in constant romance. Every article tells them they deserve to be happy, to follow their hearts, to not settle for less than butterflies. Nobody tells them that butterflies are just anxiety mixed with arousal, that following your heart is following a drunk driver, that happiness is a choice, not a circumstance. You see, yes, the women most vulnerable to cheating are the ones who've bought the lie, that life should be a constant high. They're the ones posting inspirational quotes about deserving better, about life being too short for mediocrity, about following your bliss. They're the ones who think stability is stagnation, who think routine is death, who think any negative emotion means something is wrong that needs to be fixed with dramatic change. It's common to notice that these women often had unstable childhoods, either chaos or neglect that wired their brains to associate intensity with importance. A calm relationship feels wrong to them because their nervous system is calibrated for drama. They'll actually create problems just to feel the familiar chaos, pick fights to generate passion, threaten to leave to feel wanted. And when the partner doesn't provide enough drama, they'll find it elsewhere. Many people experience this pattern but don't recognise it. The woman who cheats often chooses affair partners who are obviously wrong for her. The married woman who affairs with the player who'll never commit. The professional who risks everything for the unemployed musician. The mother who abandons stability for someone who can't even take care of themselves. It's not logical because it's not about logic, it's about generating maximum chemical response. And nothing generates chemicals like danger, forbiddenness, and uncertainty. The oxytocin phase, the attachment phase, the building a life together phase requires different skills than the dopamine phase. It requires patience, compromise, acceptance, humour about human flaws, appreciation for small gestures, finding beauty in routine. These aren't sexy skills, they don't make good movie plots, they don't get likes on Instagram, but they're what actual love is built on after the drugs wear off. Women who successfully navigate this transition have usually watched other women destroy their lives chasing dopamine. They've seen their divorced friends realize too late that they traded a real partner for a temporary high. They've watched their mothers or sisters go through multiple relationships, always leaving when the excitement fades, always ending up alone or with someone worse than who they left. But here's the hardest truth about women and cheating. Most women who cheat don't actually want to leave their marriages. They want to have both. The stability and security of marriage plus the excitement and validation of an affair. They want a husband who provides safety and a lover who provides danger. They want oxytocin at home and dopamine on the side. They want to be married and feel single, to be mothers and feel childless, to have commitment and feel free. This is why women's affairs are often so much more devastating than men's. Men often cheat for sex and can compartmentalize it. Women cheat for feeling, and feelings can't be compartmentalized. When a woman has an affair, she's giving away the emotional intimacy that should bond her to her partner. She's investing her psychological energy in building connection with someone else. She's creating a parallel emotional life that makes her actual life feel empty by comparison. I remember reading these messages a man found on his wife's phone, and they were more intimate than anything sexual could be. She was sharing her dreams with another man, her fears, her childhood memories, her favourite songs, and why they mattered to her. She was creating with this other man the emotional closeness that takes years to build and seconds to destroy. The husband said reading those messages hurt worse than if he'd caught them in bed together, because she gave away something more precious than her body. She gave away her inner world. Women underestimate how much damage this emotional infidelity does, not just to their partners, but to themselves. Every secret they share with another man is a brick removed from the foundation of their marriage. Every intimate conversation is a thread pulled from the fabric of their primary relationship. By the time physical cheating happens, the marriage is already hollowed out, a shell that looks intact from the outside but is empty inside. The prevention isn't about surveillance or control or jealousy. It's about understanding. Women need to understand their own chemical nature, their own patterns, their own vulnerabilities. They need to recognize the early stages of attraction and shut them down before they build. They need to stop feeding the narrative that they're missing something, that they deserve more, that happiness is somewhere else with someone else. Most importantly, women need to understand that the moment they start comparing their oxytocin phase partner to a dopamine phase possibility, they're comparing reality to fantasy. It's like comparing your actual life to someone's Instagram feed. Of course, reality looks worse. It includes all the boring parts, all the difficult parts, all the unsexy maintenance that keeps life actually functioning. That is what goes through women's minds when they cheat. Not a clear decision to betray and destroy, but a confused mix of chemical impulses, rationalized feelings, cultural programming, and biological drives, all pushing them towards something that feels like life but is actually just another drug that will wear off, leaving them with wreckage where a life used to be. Understanding this doesn't excuse it, but it might prevent it, and that's knowledge worth having before it's too late.